Water for the front. Where'd you go?
Is he filming?
Is it on?
Are you filming?
Is Juan
You don't
started
know.
over?
You don't know.
Good evening. Would that be Paul right there? Good evening, everyone, and thank you for being here. It's a delight to have you on our campus and at the Applied Technology Center. This is a very special year for us, as I hope you already know, with all of the excitement out in the community and what ran in the press this past weekend. It's our 90th anniversary, and we're very proud to have been a part of this community for that many years. And we continue to work very hard to meet the needs of this community. And we are especially pleased with tonight's event because it's a significant thing for us. We have had much discussion about the arts here at the college, and I think this is really going to catapult our efforts in the entire community with the great students that we have with this kind of exposure. And it goes without saying that we have some gratitude to express tonight to some very special people because of that. But before I move on, I would like to introduce the Board of Trustees of the Grand Rapids Community College. This is a very hard-working group on your behalf. They are elected by the community, and they do a wonderful job day to day and year to year, actually, in making this place right for you in Grand Rapids and Greater Grand Rapids. Let me start with our chair, Ms. Jamagini, Vice Chair, Mr. Gary Schenk, Margot Anderson, Simon James, Ms. Terry Hanlon, and Mr. Rick Verberg. And Mr. Mike Stearns could not be with us tonight because of his obligations at Northview Public Schools, where he is superintendent. I would also like to introduce, and I don't know if she's in the house because I know I didn't get to see everybody, but is Barb Demore here from our college foundation? Barb, are you here? She's not here, but I know she planned to be. She is our treasurer for the foundation and does an awful lot of work for us. I would also like to recognize a very special woman because it is because of her that we have come to this place. She and I have been conspiring for quite some time, and it finally came about with conversation with our special guests tonight. And I would like to recognize Nina Lewis-Sleet. Where are you, Nina? Nina, please stand. Nina, stand. She was my partner in crime in having these great meetings with Paul and Carol. And that does take me to a very special thank you, a personal thank you, before I turn the podium over to our host tonight. But that is Paul and Carol Collins. They are unbelievable. We started these conversations over lunch, had several lunches, and I've never worked with more creative people than these two. All of the ideas and all of the work that went into this is because of them. They were wanting an event that reflected not only the community, but also Paul and Carol and the way they work in the entire world. They're all over the place. So it's very international, as I know you knew, because of the food and the art and everything. And also the feel and the casualness, it's all because of them. And they're great people, and I thank you very much. It is for the benefit of the students, Paul and Carol, that this is all important, because our students are now going to be exposed to not only Paul's work, but the reflection of Paul's work that comes from all over the world. And so many of our students do not get to see this kind of work because it is such a high level, and it's students in very special places, and not always do they get to go there. So for us as a college and for our students, we thank you because it's going to make an incredible difference. And also from our art department. Thank you very much. You have made their year, I know. They're very excited, and I know that you're going to get to meet with students very soon if you didn't today, and I know today was hectic, but I know you're going to come back and meet with those students and encourage them to keep moving. So, without further ado, thank you, Paul and Carol, and we're going to keep moving with the program. It is my pleasure and delight to introduce two very special people who are our hosts tonight and who agreed to host tonight. And they are very good friends of Paul and Carol. These are not folks that need much introduction. They are Sharon Reynolds. Stand up, Sharon. Come on up here, please. Sharon was the recipient of the Tribute Award yesterday, and I know you read all about that. And also may I introduce to you Mr. DeVos. I just want to say that Dick is not just a friend of Paul and Carol, but he's a friend of education. He works tirelessly on that subject and in that effort. So thank you, Dick, very much. And thank you both for being here, and I'm going to turn it over to you. Sure, you're going to.
Oh, I'm just so proud to be here and to stand behind Paul. Victoria, when she asked me to speak, said, well, just talk about, why you're here and why you're interested, and make some personal comments. So I just want to say that Paul and Carol were friends of mine and my late husband for a long, long time. I don't even know when we started being friends. But if you look around at Paul's circle of friends, he's so loyal, and he has friends from the very top of our community leadership down to the smallest friends that he had when he was young. They just stay with him, and he's so loyal to them. Now, Paul and Carol could live anywhere in the world they want to, and they choose to stay here in our community. We're so lucky. He has national acclaim, and we have him right here in this gallery here at Grand Rapids Community College. We are so fortunate. Just wonderful. And Paul interacting with students is a wonderful thing. I saw this firsthand when he did a little art event at the Byron Center Public Schools. He gets right in with the kids, right down with them, and it's an experience that they will never forget. So I'd like to just give you a glimpse of Paul's loyalty before I hurry up and get off here. But my husband passed away 4 years ago, and I have many, many, many friends. But there are only two that called right away and continue to call even now to say, how you doing, how's it going, you okay, if you need anything, call me. And that's Paul, and I thank you, I love you. Well, now I get to introduce Senator Bill Hardeman, a good friend of mine too. He's a Republican senator from the 29th District, the mayor of Kentwood for 10 years. That's when I met Bill for the first time. Served and serves on numerous community boards, has received a number of awards for his community service. He's a Grand Rapids Community College alum, and he also is a personal friend of Paul and Carol.
Thank you so much. I am very pleased to be here and to extend my congratulations to Paul and Carol. And you all know Paul Collins as this incredible, internationally acclaimed artist, but I want to say that I knew him way back when. Now, let me take you back. Let me take you back not only in time, but to a place. I remember going to Franklin Elementary School. That was way before, even before I went to this school, I mean, way back. And we lived on B Street, and my father was a sign painter. And I remember, not Paul, but Buzzy coming over to the house. Maybe you didn't know his name was Buzzy. But I remember something very distinctive about Buzzy. He had this haircut, and you know, I don't know if it was just a thing, but back then we all kind of liked to look at the line and on the neck, and he just had this cool haircut, you know, the line. It was just awesome. And so you know, I kind of looked up. Here's this guy. He's just cool line. But as time went on, I began to see his work come out and his incredible abilities revealed not only to this community but to the world. And that was quite amazing to me. But let me just mention about three things that I think are amazing. One, obviously, the incredible ability that he has to not only paint and reflect what's out there, but to draw you into the painting and into the experience. It's awesome. But there's something else. Let me just say it this way. I took just for fun, I looked up Paul Collins on the internet and just to see what I'd find. And obviously I found a place for some of the prints and artwork. But I found various other things under the name of Paul Collins. Now let me just mention a few of them. One was a lecturer. You know, that's not bad. I mean, I could see him doing that. Another was a writer. He was author. That's great. Another one was a violin maker. I don't think you make a lot of violins, do you? And this one, another one was a priest. Now I know that's not buzzing. But what I love about him is this. He does what he does it with excellence. And let me just say this. I believe that each and every one of us is created by God with special skills and abilities. And I love to see someone doing what they do and doing it with excellence. And he does that. And I think he's a role model for so many of us in that way. The final thing is, and Sharon alluded to it, he doesn't forget where he came from. He doesn't forget the people that he's met along the way. Even after so many years, when I would run into him and see him, he'd say, "How you doing? How's Mom? How's she doing?" He cares about people. He cares about those that he loves. Both of them do. And for that reason, I want to add my congratulations. So may God richly bless you as you continue to be a blessing to not only this community, but to the whole world. Thank you. God bless you.
Thank you, Senator. And unfortunately, Bill has had a death in his immediate family and is going to need to be excusing himself. And my wife told him to attend to family matters. And so we will excuse you from class. We'll issue you a proper hall pass so you can find your way out. But thank you both very much for being here this evening. Well, I am just delighted and honored to be able to be a part of this event and to be here tonight and to talk a little bit about an individual and a couple of individuals, frankly, that I think so highly of. And so it's just a thrill for me. It's also a pleasure to be at Grand Rapids Community College. As many of you know, when it comes to education, I am someone that talks a lot about choice. I advocate on behalf of expanding parental choice in education, and I'm not trying to get into a political debate, but only to say that we are blessed in this community that we have many wonderful choices and options when it comes to higher education, and Grand Rapids Community College is a terrific choice for many students to make, and it's just wonderful to have this institution in this community, Juan, and I thank you very much for all the good work that you and so many others do here. And we hope that the contribution of art will make another meaningful difference in the good work that goes on here. I'm going to repeat a little bit, but not for long, what's been said, because a sign of an individual that's of integrity to me is an individual of consistency. And the fact that the same people from different places would say some of the same things about Paul would suggest that there is integrity in the man, because he, from all sides, is the same. I wrote down 4 words that I just want to speak of this evening about Paul. Talent, roots, heart, and honesty. Talent goes without question. He is an extraordinary talent, and he has shared that talent. He has shared it with us, he shared it with you, he has shared it with others. His talent isn't just, however, at his fingertips. His talent is in his ability to see people, to see the world in a different way, to share his vision of the world with us, and at the end of it all, to make us feel special. There's a lot of people with great talent who spend an awful lot of time trying to help us make them feel special. Paul makes us feel special. Carol makes us feel special. Roots. You've heard Senator talk about roots. Paul and Carol could live anywhere, and frankly, we've been able to get together in a lot of very unusual places that they have either lived or been visiting. And they could live in so many places, and yet they choose to continue to be parts of this community. Not just live here as they're traveling through, but really live here, and engage here, and care here, and give here, and contribute here. And roots. Again, people with talent, oftentimes they're gone and you never hear from them again. And with Paul, he never left. He's occasionally traveled, but his heart never left. Third word for me is heart. Paul does everything with great passion. His heart is everywhere. He wears his heart on his sleeve. He cares passionately about issues. And as you know, Paul seldom has a delay switch between a thought and a verbal communication. I will speak more specifically about that a little bit later. You know exactly where he's at. He wears his heart on his sleeve. For some of us, who are brought up maybe in a different tradition, who aren't able to be as expressive, who aren't able to communicate how much we truly do care because we weren't taught how to do that, Paul has helped us, and I would say specifically helped me. He cares about people. His end point isn't the art. His end point is always people. It always comes back to people. That's hard. And fourth is honesty. I don't know if you have people in your life who are honest with you. I hope you do. I'm blessed to have a couple of groups. I have a group that I meet with every Monday morning. It's a Bible study accountability group, 7 o'clock Monday morning. If I'm in town, you know where I'm going to be. They're honest with me. You see, in my life, in the situation that I was born into, in the situation that I find myself in, sometimes honesty is at a premium. People tell me what they think I want to hear, or what will get them what they want, instead of being true. When I'm screwing up, they let me off when I don't deserve to be. And so Paul is part of that group of truth tellers in my life. Paul has the courage to be able to step up and tell me where I'm going well and where I may have a problem. Where people may be seeing me in a different way than he sees me and sees my heart and how I need to do something to correct it. Paul is a truth teller. His honesty with me has been something I will be forever thankful for. When you have honest friends, hold them close. They are a great treasure. They are a great value. They can give you perceptions and eyes that you will never have yourself. Paul sees the world in a different way. He comes from a different place than I do. Our lives have come from very different places. Just look at us. We've come from different places, but we've arrived as friends, and I'm grateful for that. And I'm grateful to you, Paul, for all these things and many more. Thank you. To share one final reflection, I would like to introduce now Marquita Poole Eckert. Marquita is a native of Chicago, now living in New York. She is a senior producer for the CBS Sunday morning television show. CBS, apparently, is kind of a really cool place to work these past few years. I bet it's just been a blast hanging around there. Even on Grand Rapids, we heard about that one. So yeah, that's why you're here. We're grateful. We're glad we provided you with a reprieve. Come on out to Grand Rapids. Marquita is both a relative, but also a friend, and you are very kind to travel and to be with us. Thank you very much, Marquita.
You know, he's right. It's very hard to talk about Paul in front of him, but I'll do my best. Because Paul is my cousin, but he's also one of my best friends. Someone I just love very much. Oh no. We didn't, we met when we were adults. You would think that we grew up together, but we didn't. We met when we were adults. I was in my office one day in New York, and I got a phone call from someone who claimed to be my cousin from Grand Rapids. And in New York, anytime a distant relative shows up unannounced, it's never good. But then I remembered that my mother had showed me an article that was in Ebony magazine about Paul, and insisted that one day we should meet, and she was sure that we would really like each other. So I said, okay, come on over. And so our first meeting was friendly and cordial and cautious for about the first maybe half hour. And then after that, we found ourselves laughing hysterically at things and just sharing, sort of special moments. Something clicked. And since then, we've been laughing ever since, and matching wits with each other. When Paul came to New York, he was working on one of his early projects, the Black Portrait of an African Journey. And of course, in that irrepressible way he has, even though we had never met, he had an idea that I was perfect for, something I'd fit right into this project. So Paul just, wrapped me around and got me involved, and you know how he has a way of sort of putting his arms around you and never letting go. But Paul was blessed with a gift that just gets bigger and bigger as he shares it more and more. He's a strong, yet very gentle spirit. And he really is a man of great faith. And you can tell that when you look at the work that we see around us on the walls. You can see in his paintings the innocence and the resilience of the African child. You can see the wisdom of the Native American Sioux Nation. You can see the strength of the Special Olympic champions. You can see their heart. You can see the proud history of African Americans. And you can see the religious faith that's at the root of the Middle Eastern cultures. And you can see the pioneers and the characters in Key West, Florida. So Paul, like the Greek philosopher Diogenes, remember Diogenes?
Oh yeah.
He took his lamp. You all know Diogenes. He took his lamp and he gave away all of his possessions, and then he took his lamp and he went forth into the world to find an honest man. Like Diogenes, Paul left his comfortable family and friends here in Grand Rapids, and he goes out into the world, taking his paintbrush on a quest to find greatness in every man. Paul may not know where the road will lead, what twists and turns it's going to take, but Paul always knows his destination. And like Diogenes, or unlike Diogenes, who never found the honest man, Paul has always found, wherever he's gone, greatness in every man. Paul, the humble sign painter, who had a big, bold vision for himself. And beside him, every step of the way, helping him walk the walk, with intelligence and gracious good humor, is Carol Collins. Carol, everyone who knows you loves you and thanks you for all that you do. And Paul, we thank you for sharing your gifts with us and for being that honest man.
Well, now we want to talk about why we're really here, why this event, and why a collection, and why here. So a video has been prepared by Grand Rapids Community College's Media Technology Department. They asked several individuals to reflect on these questions, and the video will tell the story, so let's take a look.
Well, I hope you enjoyed the video and the chance for a few others to join us through the magic of video and be able to tell their stories. It's a privilege for me to be able to introduce our next speaker and presenter. He is, as I mentioned earlier, a special friend. You know those kinds of relationships that you have where you don't see each other every day, But when you do see each other, it takes about a half a minute to drop right into a conversation as though you've been together just the day before. That's where Paul and I start. We may not talk to each other for a couple of months, and then the next thing you know, we're sitting down and we're talking, and it takes us about half a minute to drop in. I love Paul because of his affection for norms and convention. Which is why I wore a tie today in honor of him, and why he wouldn't be caught dead wearing one. If you know Paul, I did call Paul. I wanted before anything I've said tonight, I did call Paul and said I was going to be. Huh?
That's my punchline. Don't use that.
Your punchline. You aren't going to say that in public, are you? I asked Paul. I asked. I'm going to use it. I get to use this. No, I asked. I called and I said, Paul, I'm going to have a chance to introduce you, and I've got a lot of things I can say about you, but I wonder if you'd tell me something nice I can say.
Well, that's not exactly what he said.
You can correct me when I'm done. Let me
tell you what he really said.
I got a two-word answer. You get the mic in a minute. I got a two-word answer. The second word was you, and he hung up. Now, some of you that know Paul, you can just fill in the blank. You know. And so it is with tremendous caution that I turn over this microphone to my friend Paul Collins.
Guys, this is kind of tough because they told me I only had 5 minutes. Now, one of the things they forget is once I'm up here, I may not do the 5 minutes, I may go beyond that. But anyway, Dick DeVos called me up and said to me, and this is the truth, he said, Paul, I've been sitting here and I got a real problem. I don't know what good to say about you. Now, that's the way it went. Now, what would you have said? One of the most difficult things to do is express to you how I feel about the people in this community that have helped me. And anybody who thinks you become successful by yourself without anybody pushing you and helping you is either in denial or they're lying. And I'm going to be the first to tell you one of the reasons I love this community so much is because everything have done or did, and I keep looking at my sister, she's a school teacher, and she's been trying her best to teach me how to spell and how to use my words. So you're going to have to forgive me, Bobby. Anyway, I would like to tell you a few stories of how I got to where I am. And one of them is right there, my mother. Tell you something interesting about Mom. Mom
She looks younger than you?
That's Stephen Zioli. He fancies himself a humorist. Mom grew up during the Depression and grew up in the South and experienced racism like you would not believe. But it never left her bitter. All the things that happened to her, she came through it pretty good. And I used to come home whining and crying about racism in school because when we went to Ottawa Hills, probably only about 4 or 5 black kids there, and I didn't feel very welcome. And you know what Mom used to tell me? She said, "What are you going to do about it?" That was always her attitude. She never said, "Don't like them, don't dislike them." She always asked me, "What are you going to do about it?" And she's responsible for keeping me on track and helping me decide that for all the people who paid their dues, to give me an opportunity that I owe getting something back. And I'm not just talking about black folks. I'm talking about white folks that paid dues, who didn't believe in slavery. And sometimes we forget the dues that white folks paid too, who didn't, were appalled at slavery. And this woman here, I call her Reedy Deedy, she lost my father at a very early age. And as I was beginning to grow up, I was going pretty fast. And as I was growing, I needed really a strong male role model. And I've been very fortunate. Let me tell you some of the strong role models I've had. Now, you don't think I get any spiritual guidance? Reverend Billy Ziola, Dennis Banks, Native American. So don't think I don't get spiritual satisfaction. It's right here. Would you be quiet? Now, Dick is talking about how he feels about me. Our friendship goes way back to his father. His father, when they first opened up their business, Randy and I were painting signs. And all this is a true story, you guys. And after we finished painting the sign for Rich and Jay, we went into Ada to a restaurant to eat. And everybody said, "Are you working for that Rich and Jay? Don't trust them. They'll never pay you. These guys are weird." So we didn't think much of it because you know how people gossip. Rich and Jay were there, and I decided to tell them the story. And without missing a beat, Rich says, "Paul, guess what they told Jay and I about you colored sign painters?" They said, "Are you crazy? You know the colored people can't paint signs?" But that started a relationship with me and Rich. As Rich began to watch us, we began to paint their trucks, design their logo, and all of a sudden, Rich became my surrogate father. And I didn't know anything about business. He took the time to set me down and take me to business meetings so I could learn about business. Mom could call him anytime she wanted to when she was worried about me. Right? No, I want you to really pay attention because this is really important. I didn't get there by myself. I was really lucky because I had a lot of mentors. And then I had, I got to tell this story, Jerry Subar. Jerry Subar's father was Max Subar, and Randy and I were going to do a sign for Mobile.
Paul, you're choking her.
Sorry, Bob. We were doing a sign for Mobile Oldsmobile. And he was very honest with Randy and I. He said, "You know what? I don't really want to associate with colored people. I really don't. I don't mean any offense by it." And I was really pissed. But I had learned then that fighting doesn't do anything but put you back. So I went and talked to Jerry's father. He said, "Paul, here's what you do. You go to Mr. Mulvihill and you tell him, look, I don't want to exchange friendships with you. I'm here on the business deal. You let me paint the sign, and if you don't like it, you don't have to pay for it. Deal?" He said, "Sure, deal." What he didn't know was that Randy and I also were artists, and I painted a picture of him huge picture of him on his window. He came out and he was so excited. Not only did he pay us, but he invited Randy and I for dinner the next day over to his house. Right, Mom? You remember that? Yeah. And then there was Fred Meyer and Hendrick Meyer. Fred's father was Hendrick Meyer. Randy and I decided we would go out and paint their trucks. And we designed the first Dutch Boy, which that's one of the things that Randy and I had the most signer painters didn't have. We were also artists. So we painted this great Dutch boy. We went out to see the guy who was the manager and asked him if we could paint it on the truck. He said, no, I don't think you guys' price is too high. And we were telling him we'd do it for $125. I said, supposing we do it for $75. He said, no, I just don't want you to do it. I think that's still too high. I said, supposing we do it for $5, that's still too high, isn't it? He said, yeah, that's still too high. So we go back out to Myers, and Hendrick used to have breakfast with Randy and I all the time. And we told him about it. Mr. Myers went out there with us, and he told us for him, and he said, you know, I kind of like that drawing that these guys have done. Don't you think it would look good on our truck? Oh, yes, Mr. Myers, I think it would look great on our truck. I can't tell any more stories. I got to tell one more story, though. There was a teacher in high school, and her name was Mrs. Lally. And the reason I remember her is because she has one of the greatest impacts on me. And all the cut-ups, the ones who didn't get good marks, the ones that wouldn't pay attention. We went into her class. She would talk about history, and she would let me draw the history assignments on the blackboard. She would let some of the kids in the class rehearse it as theatrics, as what they would do. She was bringing in the thing that's deep in all those kids, the ability to get out the arts through education, and the way she used it, she didn't give us Ritalin, she gave us art. And I'm not kidding you, if I were in high school today, I think they would fill me up with Ritalin. And you guys need to stop doing that. You really do. Because one of the most important assets we have are our children. And one of the things that I'm trying to do, and art does a great job of doing this, it's the one thing we got out there that still will unify us. Have you noticed that there's not a lot of things that are unifying us as a people? Do you realize that our democracy is still young and an experiment? Do you realize if you abuse it, you lose it? How many of us really think about that, and how many of us really pass that on to our kids about why freedom is really so precious and what it means to us and why we have to become unified as a people? Those different parties aren't parties of hating one another. They're parties of ideals. That's what we were built on, and look where we've come. Got a long ways to go, but that's another thing art does. I'm out on the Indian reservation out in South Dakota. Did a series of paintings on the Indians. The ranchers had never talked to the Indians before. Guess what got them talking under one roof? The paintings. Carol and I were invited to go to Sarajevo after the war because nobody knew how to start the healing process. And they needed to do it because the people in Banja Luka, where it's all started, they couldn't find a way to invite them to Sarajevo. Guess who they chose? They chose my paintings. You know why? Because they spoke of everybody. Carol and I became the ambassador. They didn't trust the ambassador. They didn't trust religions. They didn't trust politics. They trust the artists. The ambassador allowed Carol and I to go in his truck with his security to Banja Luka to deliver an invitation for them to come to the show. You should have been to the show. People were crying and talking because they had never had the opportunity to do that before. And it was because of the arts. You don't seem to understand the power of art. It's everything we do. You can't name me one thing that an artist hasn't touched. The clothes you wear. And look at my sister. Look at the artistic statement she's made. You may not know how to make it, but you know it when you see it. The automobile you drive is a piece of sculpture. It just so happens you can get in it. An artist designed that. The new tech building, an artist designed that. So if you think art is not a profession, see, there she goes again. I can't get her because she's my sister. But please, open the door and let art out of the box. Encourage your kids to get into the arts, because for you parents, it's also a profession. They can make a living at it. They can be inspired by it. Do you realize also that it's therapy? In most hospitals, they use art as therapy. You can't name anything that art doesn't do. What is up with you folks? Yeah, but I don't know if they're listening. Oh, okay, all right. They're telling me I got to get out of here. But listen, before I get out, one other thing I have to do. You got to sit down, Mom. Last but not least, for all you guys who think a woman should be behind you, someone you should dominate, stop it. She's my partner. We share everything together, and without her, I was never able to do some things I've done. And I will be forever grateful. Wait, one more thing. I got to tell you. Just one more thing. Wait a minute. Just one more thing before I go. You guys don't realize how fortunate you have Commandante. This man is special. He's special because he has a vision. He's special because he wants to ignite these kids to do better. And you ought to give him a little hand because we were just lucky to have him. And I just love him. I love his personality, and I love who he is, and we're glad you're here. And I got something for you. Now, this is my symbol of what this school represents and the great challenges that he has ahead of him. My pleasure.
Thank you, Paul. What a great gift. My goodness, I'll cherish it forever. Thank you very much. And now, we need to do something very formal, and this has to do with something that our Board of Trustees took action on very recently to name our art gallery, and that requires formal approval by our Board of Trustees. And I'm going to invite our chairperson, Jan Magini, to come up and introduce the student who will read the resolution.
I'm going to do it from here, Paul, because I want you to come up on stage too. What I like about being on the board is rank has privilege sometimes. So I need to share a story because your presentation to Juan brought back some memories. This is a story that is about the college, because the college is really devoted to diversity. We work very hard to represent this community, and we welcome everyone here on behalf of the board. But one of the values that this community holds high is diversity, and we've even woven it into our end statement. But I have a personal story that I need to share. When I first came on the board, there were a number of outlying school districts who were involved in a diversity network. And we had a mentor from the community college who helped us with this. And this is a friend of yours, Paul. And I sat down with him one time and I said, how are we going to bring diversity training or multiculturalism to our outlying districts where there are so many, there's such a void of any diversity. The demographics are not as they even are today. And he said, Jan, what we need to do is to teach them and help them learn about multiculturalism through the arts. It's non-threatening, and we'll do it through the arts. That man was Cedric Ward. And Paul, what you have done this evening is bring a dream full cycle to bring this artwork back to Grand Rapids Community College, and we thank you for that. So since I could take that privilege at that time, it's also a privilege that this board has to take official action in the recognition of special events and individuals. And at last Monday's board meeting, we adopted a special resolution, and I would like to introduce our Grand Rapids Community College arts student, Santo Placencia, to read the resolution. It is our custom to have students do this. And Santo?
Before I begin, I'd like to thank Paul Collins and Carol Collins and all of the people who have donated art to the gallery. It means a lot to us students, and we thank you. Whereas Mr. Paul I. Collins, a Grand Rapids native and internationally recognized artist whose work is collected around the world. Whereas Mr. Paul Collins recognizes and expresses the essential human dignity and inherent worth of others whose work portray strong, worthy, significant people no matter their race, culture, or circumstance, and uses his ability to portray the human face and body to open channels to our deepest responses that touch the potential and commonality in us all. And whereas Mr. Collins has dedicated his life and resources to support education and to the fusing arts with education. And whereas Mr. Collins' numerous awards include the Distinguished Citizens Award from the City of Los Angeles, the Tadlow Fine Art Award, the People's Choice Award in Paris, the Golden Centaur of Italy, and the CINE Gold Eagle Award. And whereas Mr. Collins acted as diplomatic liaison between the Oglala Sioux and the U.S. government at Wounded Knee, and donated reproduction rights of several paintings to raise money for the Native American Education Fund, was named a full brother into the Sioux Nation and given the name Bright Eagle. And whereas Mr. Collins has traveled around the world creating series of paintings including South Africa, Israel, Kenya, Japan, and Cuba, as well as several American series, Other Voices, a Native American tableau, the Special Olympics collection commissioned by the Joseph P. Kennedy Foundation, contributions of Blacks in America, America at Work, and Who is Key West. And whereas Mr. Collins established the Paul Collins Human Dignity Award to honor those who have made a significant contribution to individuals or organizations in need, no matter what their race or religion, and whose many donations has enabled his art to be seen in schools, hospitals, jails, libraries, and community centers throughout the world. And whereas Mr. Collins, through his vision, has played a leadership and role in raising additional resources to the Grand Rapids Community College Permanent Art Collection, and whereas Carol Collins, his wife and partner, has supported his business and his work by dedicating herself to promoting his work. And whereas by this action, Paul and Carol Collins are creating a lasting legacy that allows the college to serve the educational needs of the Grand Rapids community, art faculty, and students, as well as greater Grand Rapids art community well into the next century. Now therefore be resolved that this Board of Trustees recognizes, appreciates Paul and Carol Collins for their exceptional gift to the college, for their energy, commitment, and talent in establishing an endowment fund making the Grand Rapids Community College Art Gallery viable well into the future. Be it further resolved that by this official action, the Grand Rapids Community College Board of Trustees hereby recognizes Paul and Carol Collins' leadership by naming the new art gallery the Grand Rapids Community College Collins Art Gallery. And at this time be printed in all college materials, publications, and signage. Be it further resolved that this resolution be printed in official proceedings of the Board of Trustees, a copy be placed on file, a copy be permanently displayed at the GRCC Collins Art Gallery, and a copy be presented with gratitude to Paul and Carol Collins. Board of Trustees, Grand Rapids Community College.
Now, I'm going to tell you something. We might be starting a new trend, a very important trend. And it's nice to say something nice to people before they die. Thank you.
Well, I'm sure you'll agree that this was a really unique and a wonderful program. And I'm just really pleased to take part in it. Now, following the events tonight, for those of you that are interested, Paul will be signing prints with all the proceeds going for the gallery, and that will take place in room 163, just across the atrium. And coffee and desserts will be available in the atrium, and special dessert gifts will be at the exits for everyone. And whereas, please continue to visit, view the art, and enjoy your evening.
And I get to do the thank yous. Thank you, a special thank you to the donors for the personal collection and the individuals and organizations who have loaned artwork to this event, as well as for those who are the event sponsors. You'll note all of them in your program, and please take a moment to say thank you to them. Also, I would like to remind you, if you haven't opened your program yet, please do. There's a note inside just for you. Now, if this was a good Baptist meeting, this is where the piano would start with a little hymn that would be repeated painfully until everyone filled one out. You all have been to some of those events with me, haven't you? Okay. We're not going to do that, but we would be very grateful. And I know that Paul and Carol would be very grateful for your support, not for them, but on their behalf, to the kids and to many others who will benefit through the programming that is going to be made possible through this endowment. So if you are able, we would be very grateful for your help. And finally, I would just once again acknowledge Paul and Carol, and we just hope that this evening has given you a small bit of all that you have given us. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone, for coming and joining us in an evening with Paul and Carol Collins. We really appreciate it. Also, there was another and, which I have here, and that is that Deborah Muller, another personal friend of Paul and Carol's, have a special tribute song, and I believe that's going to be out in the atrium as you are getting your desserts. And at this point, we will end the program. I would like to thank all of the workers who made this possible. I want to thank Vicki Janowiak from our College Advancement Department and Foundation, also Trish Monahan and Nancy Paramore for really leading this effort and helping us all. Thank you very much to Dick and Sharon. Thank you for hosting this. We really appreciate it. Paul and Carol, thank you. And now it is my pleasure to close the program by bringing up someone very special to Paul and Carol. It is one of the spiritual leaders of the Ojibwa Nation, founder of American Indian Movement, who will do a very special blessing to close the program. Thank you very much.
Paul, you said something about they don't recognize people until after they're dead and say nice things about them. Carol says she brings you back from the dead every night. Spiritually, of course. Whenever a name is picked, when somebody gives tobacco for a naming ceremony, there's a big event. There's a spiritual search for a name. And so it's tonight to see the name Collins to be placed on this event and in the building and the gallery. There's a lot of thought and prayers behind that. In the same manner that we search out a name for a young boy or a young girl. And so with the same spiritual foundation, that name is given. And I want to say miigwech for the search, miigwech for the recognition of his work. I first met Paul under very heavy circumstances in 1973 at a place called Wounded Knee. And we were surrounded for 71 days, and there was shooting going on between Native people and the FBI and marshals. And it was very hard times. It looked very gloom for us. But out of all of that came people who came to help us in trying to resolve the whole situation